let's go with individual grades now per position group. This is going to be interesting because there's no stats to throw out here. This is just straight up position by position. And for some, it's player. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Quarterback. Let's start right there. It's Will Howard. This time I'll go with Chris first, then Cory, then me. So, Chris, you get to go
Oh,
first. Give a letter grade for the quarterback position.
I'd love to go with an A, but I'm gonna have to temper it and go a little bit with an A minus there with Will. I think Will is great. I think he's exceeded a lot of people's expectations. I do think he's the gamer I thought he was going to be. He is completing 73% of his passes. The quarterback room as a whole is completing nearly 72%. Um, I've got to go with an A minus specifically for Howard. I would probably give that to the room overall since he does play a majority of the snaps. But when the other guys come in, their numbers are not bad. Um, so, I mean, I don't like some of the turnovers. I'm bothered by some of the turnovers. But you know what? I still think he's a guy that could lead us to a national title. I truly believe that.
At this point, Mean Green, it's getting there between Chris and I. It is. You know what? I wonder how much money we could raise, Chris, if we did a sumo match between each other.
Oh Lord, they'd pay us to put our clothes back on and cover up them diapers.
I would donate for you guys not to do that if you don't mind.
All right. What do you got on the quarterback position, Cory?
I'm going A. I'm not gonna go A plus because I agree with Chris. Some of those, like specifically the interception against Michigan State was pretty bad. But that being said, he's exceeded my expectations. I thought he'd be at best a game manager, but quite frankly, against Oregon, again, the best team we played all year by far, where the defense fell apart, he rose to the occasion. I felt, and he was moving that offense up and down the field. And a little, like I said, underrated play is when Will didn't catch that ball. It could have been a pick, but he's rushing the offense up to get the ball snapped so they can't review it. Has the awareness to do that, and I watched the last play again where he got down, and he did get down with a second to
With a
spare.
second
But
left on the clock, yeah.
yeah, but you watch him. I was talking to our friend Kyle Lamb about it actually, and he's running to the 26-yard line. You could see him look up at the scoreboard to see how much time he has. He's completely aware of the situation,
And
and
did you
immediately,
catch the receiver in the background
yep,
going like this?
Ennis. That was Ennis doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, Ryan Day, Ennis, and Howard all were like that. They all knew the
The
situation.
officials blew the call, but you can't
100%.
put yourself in that position to do it to lose
Well,
by that.
yeah, it's frustrating about what goes on with that, but I'm just praising Howard for having that kind of
Mhm.
awareness and leadership. He's been a blessing to the locker room. He's the guys love him. His stats are great. He's played really well. I'm very happy with Will Howard. So
You say A.
yeah, A. Yep.
I'm with you. I'm A. I'm going A. All right. Next position group we're going to go to is the running backs, Chris.
You I, I'm torn on this one. I would like to go A. I mean, you look at their numbers. Their numbers are pretty good, especially considering these guys didn't play the fourth quarter, and I don't think any of the first four games. Um, Splitting time, I think it's working out real well. Um, we did have a big turnover. We've got 10 touchdowns out of our two starting guys on the ground. I think that I've got to go A minus on the running back room as well.
Man, tough grader tonight.
Well,
Tough
I
grader.
just feel like there's times where we could have used a little more production, especially in that Oregon game, where I think things, and it may not have all been their fault, but they were the guys carrying the rock. Um, and between that and just, I think for me, like I said, the turnover was bad in the Oregon game. So
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Chris there. I'm going B plus, A minus. Run game is good, but it's not quite what I thought it might be. I thought it was going to be. I mean, granted, there was a game or two there that was like, holy smokes, but against Oregon in the second half, couldn't run the ball at all. It's 12 carries, 19 yards, something like that. Um, and the Judkins turnover. Now, look, I'm trying to give him a little bit of a leeway because his arm was hurt or hand was hurt, but you
Yeah.
can't let that. You can't. You got to be aware of that. You can't let that happen. That completely changed the momentum of the game right there. Was when when I think it was Harmon who took the ball from him.
Yes.
Uh, so I again, that's extremely detrimental. If you're going to knock Will Howard for throwing a bad pick against Michigan State, you got to, in the most important game of the season, Judkins. I love Judkins. I'm not trying to knock him. I'm
Oh,
glad he's
yeah.
a Buckeye, but that was a really bad play. But overall, they're both explosive. They both can catch passes out of the backfield. They're both good in pass pro. They're team players. They are great character guys. They're good in the locker room. They're very high production. So I'll lean to A minus. I'll lean forward for them because I think they're
Okay.
worth it.
All right. I gave you a B plus at first. So I like how you talked yourself into A minus. Thank you. Uh, so yeah. So there's been questions about Quinshon's injury. He had surgery on his hand. I would love to know when
Minor surgery.
right. I would love to know when the injury occurred and when they knew about it.
They knew about it on Thursday. He
This
was
past
he
Thursday,
no,
or
the Thursday before the game they knew about it
yeah,
Mhm.
because originally he was
that's what
questionable.
I'm getting at because
Should he have even been in there?
right. That's far be it me to
And is he just
question.
that much of a gamer though? That's the
Right.
thing.
And you know what? As a coach, I've been in those situations, and when you kind of trust the guy, and he's like, dude, I'm hurting, but you're not going to sit me out this game. As a coach, I'm like, I get it. I've been in your shoes. Sometimes you have to just tell somebody if they're going to affect the outcome of the game and the team. And I'm not saying that was what happened, but I digress. I would like to know a little bit more about the situation. It sounds like it was a minor surgery. He's going to be fine. Don't know how much he's going to get to play against Nebraska. Hopefully, we won't need him a ton against
I heard he
Nebraska.
was going to be ready for Penn State.
Okay, there you go.
So do we see some more James Peoples against
Right,
Nebraska?
And that's
right,
not a bad thing.
No, it's not. I like him. Yeah.
right. I'm going with an A. I think the running backs have been really good so far this year. You combine what they've done together as one, and they're like top in the Big Ten. So right behind what's his name from Iowa. All right,
Caleb.
let's move on to wide receivers.
Whew, you know what?
Actually, no. Before that, let's go tight end. Let's go
Uh,
tight end first.
now, see, you had me in a good mood. Now you're going to
Yeah.
put me in a foul
Well,
mood
I
again.
did that on purpose because after tight end, I want you to talk about wide receiver. So
It's like
Okay,
dessert after your vegetables. There you go.
so
exactly,
and
yeah.
that's a good way to put it. Tight end for me, I don't think they've been great. I think that they have been serviceable. I think at times the blocking's left a little bit to be desired. Um, I see them improving though. I did see some improvement in the passing game out of G. Scott Jr. recently. Kazmarek, I guess that was a great catch on the first play of the game there in Oregon. So you know what? I'm going to give them a solid C. I think it's a C,
Solid C. Okay.
solid C with potential for an upward trend if they really start doing things. Here's the big thing: how is Jelani Thurman and G. Scott going to adjust to Kazmarek being out? Are they going to be
And,
able to pick up the load?
and let's be honest, they have not used Thurman much at all. It's
I
obvious.
agree.
It's
Yeah,
obvious he's not doing something in practice that they're looking for.
yeah,
Is
I
he
agree.
missing blocks? Is he just not doing the stuff that they're asking beyond practice?
He
is
seems
he
very
like the
hit and
last
miss with his blocking.
is he
He's
the
not
last guy
consistent.
in, first guy out type of thing? Like I don't know. I know Aaron Nolan's dad's in the chat maybe and he knows Jelani, the Georgia guy. Maybe he can let us know a little bit. Like is he good? Like that talent coming out of
He
high
looks
school,
good.
man.
He
Ah,
looks good.
man, he
Everything
looks the part,
screams,
man.
yes, he does. And I really hope he gets the opportunity to step it up here because I'm telling you, I think there is a definite All American in that body somewhere. He's just got to find a way to bring it out. So Yeah, I'm going to go solid C. Now, are we going right into the receivers there?
No, no, no.
Okay,
Let's give yourself a minute.
thank you.
Go ahead, Cory.
Get your vomit bag. Just give us some. Yeah, I'm going B minus. I think their blocking is okay most of the time. I like their traps and the things like they do there, and I like they're kind of an extension of the offensive line. Oftentimes, let's be honest, it's Ohio State. Other than like Cade Stover recently, how many times have we been like, "Oh, this is the year the tight end's going to be a major focus," and it just doesn't materialize. So I'm not really surprised by this group not materializing, to be honest, because there's nobody we could pinpoint except for maybe Thurman a little bit to say this is a breakout star here. I like Thurman too. I liked him when we recruited him. I thought that's the best tight end recruit we've had in quite a while, to be honest. Um, like I said before, they think they brought the black stripe off LeBlanc with K being out, so it'd be interesting to see if he gets some run here. But obviously, Bennett Christian's going to be playing a lot with Jelani and G. Scott. I do agree with Chris, though. I think they're on an upward trajectory. I think they're getting better. I think they're getting more involved. I think Howard's starting to trust them more. G. Scott in those little mesh routes and those little crossing patterns actually is becoming quite a threat for those like 5 to 7 to 8, 9 yard gains. And he can actually be somewhat of a threat in the red zone. So I'd like to see Thurman become more of a threat in the red zone because you just split out Jeremiah Smith and Thurman out wide, fade pattern, and see who gets the ball. But I give B minus because I think they've been improving. But if you asked me like 3 games ago, I'd have been like a C minus maybe. I think they've been getting better.
Maybe we ought to put JTT over in that room since he's not really doing much on the defensive
Yeah,
end.
exactly. He's not doing anything right now. He can put him over there.
You know what? I've thought about that multiple times. That young man was a really good tight end in high school.
Hmm.
He was. Prentice Nolan, he said, let's keep it real. Jelani isn't getting enough touches, but his blocking's got to get consistent. I think that really
There you go.
that nails it
I
down,
agree.
man. Because the way this coaching staff looks at the tight end position, if you can't block, you can't play.
And let me tell you, I've seen a few plays where he's blown guys up, but then
Yeah,
I've also seen plays where he just whiffed. And
Yeah.
I think what Mr. Nolan talked about there with the consistency is the issue.
Who was it that called Case? Here, yeah, Jar Happiness. I have not heard that nickname, Cadillac Case. That's a pretty good nickname. I haven't heard that one before. I'm I'm going with C plus. I they need to get better. And this is me feeling a little bit spoiled, guys, from having Stover recently, who's probably if not the greatest tight end in Ohio State history. He's in the top 5, no doubt.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, you got to go way back in the archives to
Just
find a
like we
tight end.
all predicted when he got recruited, he'd be one of the best tight ends ever. When he got...
One of the best
hence
tight
his
end
hence his
linebacker
star
defensive
rating at
end.
linebacker. And then defensive end. Remember that? He
Yeah.
played defensive end for a hot minute. Yeah. God, what an amazing athlete to do that though. Like, jeez.
He could argue he's one of the best utility players ever at
Oh
Ohio
yeah.
State. Yeah.
I still think he has one of the greatest quotes of all time. I posted that this past week. Did you
I
see that?
saw it.
Yeah, I
Cows
can't.
don't take a day off.
Yeah, every now and then I go back to his cows don't take a day off. Cool. I love that, man. Love that kid. Yep, Farmer Gronk, or the nickname we gave him was Combine. We gave him the Combine. I like that nickname.
Yeah.
He's
All
doing
right.
okay with Houston, by the way, with the
Yeah,
Texans. He's doing
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
he's
Well,
gonna
he's
be
got a pretty
fine.
good quarterback there that he knows a little bit.
Yeah, but nobody blocks for him. So. I'm a Packers fan. I got firsthand knowledge of it today. I was like, holy smoke, we can get pressure on anybody but CJ Stroud.
All right, you ready, Chris? Go for it. Wide receivers.
A.
Okay.
I mean, how can you give him anything but that? Jeremiah Smith, all that hype coming in, and I think he's lived up to every bit of it. I mean, come on, the guy has 32 catches for 553, leading the team in receiving yards,
Yeah.
averaging 17.3 per
Yeah.
reception, 7 touchdowns halfway through the season, halfway through his freshman season. 7 touchdowns. He needs 1 to tie Chris Carter's record. 1.
Do you
I'm
think he'll
pretty
get
sure
it?
that record's going by the wayside, probably in the next game. You follow that up with Emeka Egbuka, who is probably the best receiver right now who can actually graduate and go to the draft in the country. I mean, the guy is just consistent. Leads the team in number of receptions with 40, 526. He's averaging 13.1 per reception. He's got 6 touchdowns in 6 games. I mean, I think Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis have both flashed. And the blocking out of the receiver, that's one of the things that I think, especially with Carnell Tate, has really, really shown. Carnell Tate can block, man. For a receiver, that guy can get out there and really block. The other two can too. But I think the
Emeka Egbuka's
receiving
blocking
room,
is phenomenal.
J.R. Smith, or J.J. Smith, rather, is blocking very well right now. We talked about it a few weeks ago. There was a play where he was the only reason the guy got to the end zone. So I think to give these guys anything, and the only reason they're not an A+ is we have had a couple of bad drops and a couple of penalties. And a couple of penalties.
What penalty could you be talking about?
Well, there's been a few, but the most recent one would be that that offensive pass interference.
You ever seen Ed Bassmaster? One of his characters he does is, psh, he walks up to someone and psh. To me, that's what Jeremiah Smith does to defenders when they try to get off me.
But those, and a few weeks ago we saw Jeremiah Smith had a few errors there that just showed he was still a human being.
He's a freshman.
That's it. He's a freshman. He's a human being. He's not an alien from another planet, which we all thought he might have been. So I'm going with a solid A.
Cory.
I'm going with A. The only reason why it's not A+ is actually not even because of Emeka and Jeremiah, but because I agree with what you said earlier, Eric. A third option really hasn't presented himself consistently. I know Tate and Ennis are talented. I mean, I know Nelson's talented, but one of them's got to step up to be that third guy or a tight end or somebody. You can't in today's football game. You can't just have the two. And as fun, sensational as they both are, I love the fact that I thought Jeremiah Smith at the beginning of the year was going to be mostly just a guy who's a Randy Moss type. He'd have 3 catches, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns because he's a big play guy. And then Emeka would be the 8 catch for 90 yards and a touchdown, be a steady Chris Carter style, going back to Minnesota Vikings 1999. And Jeremiah's proven to be much more than that, clearly. So Jeremiah and Emeka are both just playing phenomenal. I know they've had their mistakes. I know Jeremiah's fumbled. There's been a penalty here and there, but I'll give them the A+ because I think they have been the absolute safety blanket for Will Howard, who, quite frankly, the other passing options, because the other passing options are a little bit limited, puts more pressure on them, and Howard has to use them as a safety valve and the main target. So that's why I give them an A+. Everybody else an A-. I'll take out an A.
A+. You guys are chicken. It's still the best. It's the best wide receiver room in the country.
I didn't say it wasn't, but can't give it an A+ when mistakes have been made. A+ means perfection.
And I would say on this team that has been perfection.
Has there been penalties? Has there been turnovers? That's all I'm asking. Has there been any penalties at all?
There's been a couple penalties, but
has there been any turnovers?
Has there from the wide receivers?
Yeah. Smith fumbled.
JJ Smith fumbled.
Oh yeah, freshman. Easy.
I'm not saying he's not a freshman.
You tell me one freshman that has done what he's done in Ohio State history.
No one, and I've said that. He is absolutely. I said, you know what? Why are you trying to convince me? I was the one from the beginning.
I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just telling you that you're wrong, and I'm right. It's an A+.
You're not wrong. You're not right.
Thank you. That's right.
You are not right. You're absolutely not right.
It's like
no mistakes is an A+. Absolute perfection. This is not perfection.
Thank you, Devin. Thank you. Devin agrees.
Well, Chris, I'll say this, by that standard, like literally nobody could ever get an A+ then, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
You're not going to give one A+ on okay, ever.
You know what? I'll give Chris this. He's consistent on that, so I'll give him that.
Yeah. All right. One more, then we're gonna take commercial break. Offensive line, Chris. A plus, right?
I'm gonna say a B plus,
Okay. You know what?
and
For
that's
what we
actually better than I thought it was going to be.
exactly.
I'm very concerned with the loss of Simmons, how that's going to affect this offensive line, because that young man I think was putting together an All American type campaign,
Agree.
and it really really concerns me where this is going to go. I think that we saw that. Help me out. Wow, I know the kid's name that stepped in for him.
Zen
Oh,
Mikowski.
Zen
Thank you.
Mikowski.
Zen Mikowski, I think he did an admirable job. I think he didn't make a whole lot of mistakes. I think he was solid, not great. Um, and that was against probably, I'm going to say, the toughest defensive line we're going to face for the rest of the year
I
at
don't know.
least.
Penn State's pretty good.
Overrated. But yeah, I'm confident that they have the ability to finish out a solid B plus A minus line. And you know what? If they do, that bodes well for this offense.
I'm going A minus. Um, I think the pass pro has been excellent for what it's been in the last few years. I mean, last year I thought the pass pro was abysmal at times, and especially against Missouri. Holy crap! But this year they've Will Howard. I know Will Howard manages the pocket a lot better than our quarterbacks last year. But that being said, he's had time to I always joke, just eat a sandwich, do his taxes back there. And the run game's been pretty solid. There's been pretty good holes, better holes I think we've seen in a while. Um, for the running game. And I will say, watching the offensive line pull and maneuver and trap is actually like a work of art at times. Like,
It
holy,
is.
like
It is
wow,
so awesome.
I
To
call that the Chip Kelly effect.
yeah,
that's
to
100%. That's
go
100% Chip
I
Kelly. Yeah.
challenge everybody in the chat, if they don't already do this, go back and watch a game and just watch the offensive line. Don't watch anything else.
hmm
It's impressive.
It's amazing. All those moving pieces know exactly where to be at their spots and know who to take on. And I Chip Kelly's obviously had a massive impact on how the line plays. And so I'm not giving Justin Fry necessarily that credit, but Chip has been a godsend of a coach. If you want to talk about coaching grades, Chip's an A plus for me.
Yeah. Hey, can I ask you guys a question? It actually goes back to a comment that Mr. Nolan just threw up out there in the chat. And do you think this is going to help Will Howard a little bit in the fact that maybe we're not going to look to go deep quite as often? It's going to be something where we're going to have to get the ball more in those 3 and 5 step drops, get it out quickly, get it to those on those slant patterns, on hit
Yeah,
those
I
tight
think
ends.
that plays to his strengths. He's a good decision maker, and he doesn't have a long ball. I mean, I guess he can get it there, but it's not ever accurate. So his best game, his strengths are in that, like you said, in 20 yards and
20
in.
yards and in.
Yep, and he's a really good decision maker in my opinion. I'm not saying that interception against Michigan State wasn't horrible. I get it. He's made a couple of bad decisions, but overall, like 90 to 95% of the time, he's a really good decision maker.
Can I answer that question with
Yeah,
yes, as long as they take a deep shot every now and then? You
right. They have to
still
show it.
you still have to keep them honest.
hmm
Mhm.
You have to show them that you're willing to try it. And when you have Jeremiah Smith who can win a 50-50 ball like he can, and they go one-on-one with no high safety, you need to take that shot from time to time.
Yeah,
You're dumb if you don't. So
I agree.
you said A minus, right, Corey?
For the receivers, yeah, A minus. Or
Yeah,
offensive line, A minus, yeah.
A minus for me as well. All right. Continue on with our midterm grade cards here. Progress reports, I think, is what they call them in school these days. I called it being grounded when I was younger. Um, I act like I was a terrible student. I actually graduated with like a 3.85 in college, so that's not too shabby.
It was on the back end of the progress report is when he got better. So
It was well. I just when I was concentrating more about academics and I wasn't just concerned about sports and girls. So I actually I actually did all right. Okay, all right. Let's start with the defensive. Let's start with the defensive. Uh oh. Are we good? Okay. I about hit the end broadcast accidentally. Let's start with, and maybe we should at this point. I don't know. Is that apropos?
That was Freudian if I ever heard it.
Yeah. Okay, Chris. You know what, Chris? I'm going to let you go last every time. I will start this time. Be me, then Corey, then you, Chris. Let's start with the defensive ends. I'm going to go with a B plus on the defensive ends. I think statistically they have pretty good numbers, and at times they've looked really good. I don't know what's going on schematically behind the scenes, but I know this much: when Sawyer is at his best and they just let Sawyer be Sawyer, young man can eat. And we've seen it from JT. We've seen it. I wish that they would rotate more. I would like to see Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson get more playing time. And I think that would help those guys out at the end of the game to not be so gassed. So I'm hoping that we see some creativity from the defense and rotation on the line. That's why I'm going to go ahead and say to start off, I'm going to go B plus on the defensive ends.
You know, it's so hard to grade this because are they doing what they're asked to do?
Exactly.
If they're doing what they're asked to do, then I'll go, B minus, B, whatever. But if they're literally being told, no, we need you to get after the quarterback and do everything that you can at your disposal, and then I give them a C. But I'm assuming they're doing what they're asked to do, which is play a lot of containment, set the edges, don't pin your ears back, obviously, because you don't want the quarterback to get out. And I'm gonna say B minus. I don't think they're necessarily playing great. They don't flash. They disappear for much of the game, but they do hold up against the run quite a bit. And that's also part of the game. It's not just sacks and pressures. I'd like to see him get to the quarterback more. That's it. I don't know. Again, though, are they being asked to hold back a little bit? I don't. I just don't know what's going on there. So I'll go B minus. I could be. I'm just shooting from the hip on that one because I think they do some things pretty well. I've seen flashes where JT just completely goes around the edge or bull rushes, or I've seen Jack Sawyer use a spin move. I know they have it.
Yeah, that Superman sack he had a few weeks ago.
Exactly.
It's
Where does
in
that all
there.
go in these big games? I don't know. Maybe they're being asked to not do that or what. But so all I can do is go B minus with the assumption that they're kind of being asked to do. They're just kind of doing what they're asked to be doing.
You know, I kind of agree with you guys. I think that they're actually a victim of the coaching that's going on right now. I think their numbers are sacrificing because of how they're being told to play and how they're being set up. Um, I am going to go B minus, and I was tempted to do a C plus after JT completely blew that play last week against Oregon, where he tackled the running back while the quarterback ran downfield on him. Um, but I'm going to go B minus. I think that these guys have the ability. I think they're being restricted by bad coaching decisions. Um, so I'm going to go B minus.
Okay. Yeah, the chat, this interesting debate, like they're kind of really talking what you're talking about, Corey, is the I think that the anger that's being placed on the defensive line for the fan base, a lot of it has to do, I think, with more of the scheme that we're playing,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because yeah, I think McCormick brought it up. Trying to run this chat sometimes. Yeah, didn't Sawyer have like 5 sacks in the last 2 games last year? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he played
Yeah.
phenomenal against the team up north and against Missouri. Felt like he was the only guy playing at times defensively in those games.
And those were two pretty doggone good offensive lines that he was ripping apart.
The two
Mhm.
best we played all year.
Yeah.
And
So you
so
know the
that's
talent
what
is
I'm
there.
saying. It's in him. I think you need to let the
And
guy go. Let him eat.
we've seen what JT has done against Penn State, and he's had a few other decent games, but not to say he's an all world guy, but he's definitely a
He's
top end
he's
talent.
he's better than what he shows. Yeah.
Let's kick it inside. Talk about defensive tackles. I, you know, Tyreek and Ty, I think are going to be like 8 to 10 year pros as long as they stay healthy and when they get
Hmm.
to the NFL. The body that they have, the engines that go with that body, um, and again, they have played phenomenal all season when they've been in the games and been on the field outside of last week against Oregon 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to go with B plus here again with the defensive tackles, and I think this is a little bit different because sometimes they're just, and it's really hard to grade defensive tackles because sometimes your whole job is to just plug things up, man.
Hmm.
Just just be a big body in the middle of that line and don't let them run up the middle. Just plug everything up, man. So uh, I'm gonna go B plus.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. B plus. I like Tyreek Williams. I agree with you. Those two guys got a long career ahead of them. I think Tyreek Williams is actually at times he's top five defense tackle in the nation. He's so freaking disruptive. Um, but and honestly, the backups are good too. Caden McDonald's shown a lot of flashes, and he probably should be playing more. We're not really understanding that one. I think Malone's a nice player as well. Hero Canoe drives me nuts at times, but he's got potential. But yeah, Tyreek and Ty Hamilton are the Hamilton family reigns at Ohio State because Devon was just as good. But yeah, B plus. They've done their job. We're really good against the run, and that's been their predominant job is to stuff the run. We stuffed Caleb Johnson. Do you think we do that without Tyreek and Ty? I mean, no, of course not. So B plus. They've done a great job. It could be an A. I mean, all of these guys could ascend to an A by the end of the year. But right now, after the coming off the Oregon game, you just it downgrades them a little bit.
Yeah, this is I think the first time where I'm actually in sync with both you guys. I got him at a B plus as well. I really like the defensive tackle room as a whole. Like you said, Corey, you get McDonald in there. I love to watch McDonald play. That guy's an absolute beast when he gets his chances. But the other two guys, Ty Hamilton and Tyreek Williams, like you said, Eric, I mean, I think these guys right now are probably solid mid round picks. I think Tyreek's got the ability to be as high as a second round pick if he has a great finish this season.
Okay. Oh, I'm dreading this next one because I have to go first. Linebackers. Linebacker play at The Ohio State University is something of cult like status when you have guys like um, uh, Chris Spielman. Um,
AJ Hawk,
yeah,
Andy
AJ Hawk,
Katzenmoyer.
Pat Samoyer,
Ryan Shazier.
Shazier, the little animal, Laurinaitis.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go back even further, Cousineau. I mean, we're talking some of the greatest linebackers to ever play the sport, not just in college. I'm talking the sport of football. And it just seems right now that our linebackers feel like the kind of the weakness of this defense.
I agree with that.
That's tough for me to say, and I'm not saying that they cannot get there. Like I want to see the linebackers reach that level of potential, but when you have guest podcasts coming on before a big game and they tell you, "Oh, we're going to exploit your linebackers." That's hard to swallow,
And then
man.
they go out and do it.
Oh yeah, and I mean we are. I know a lot of universities want to talk about being linebacker U. You know that's something Penn State says all the time, right? We're linebacker U. Ohio State legitimately was at one time, and to say we're not anymore is tough to swallow. I'm going to go with a C.
Yeah, I agree with the C. Linebacker. I mean, for us old guys here, we it used to be a source of pride at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was always like when I was a kid growing up with my father, paying attention to offseason Ohio State, like who's the next great linebacker? that was always even like if they weren't like superstar great, you had like guys like Niall Diggs who was pretty good, stuff like that. Um, there was always somebody, even in the Tressel's worst years, like Ross Holman was okay, things like that. It used to be we always had stellar linebacker play. And
Mm-hmm.
honest to God, the last time I remember a linebacker even kind of resembling that was Justin Hilliard in his last couple of games when he was here, who was just blowing things up. And I was like, that I remember what that used to look like. And
Yeah.
it just seems like we don't have that anymore. And I don't know if it's the defensive scheme or it's today's offenses, but I see linebackers like what the guy from Georgia against Texas was amazing. I can't remember his name.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, those linebackers in Georgia were just
It's
they controlled the game.
It makes me sick, to be honest with you. Not that they're good, but it's like why can't we have that again? Is beyond me. So Cody Simon's an okay player. Sonny Styles has that kind of athleticism, and he'll get better, I think. But right now, they're kind of liabilities at time, and it's frustrating. Like Eric, I'm with you, man. It's frustrating because I grew up watching Katzenmoyer and AJ Hawk and all them, of course. So and I remember watching Katzenmoyer as a freshman. It was the freakiest thing I think I've ever seen on a defensive side of the ball. So
Even our linebackers who weren't great did great things. How about
yeah,
Dumas? Remember when Dumas about killed
yep,
someone from
yep,
Auburn?
yep.
Like
Yeah.
he wasn't great, but they do great things. Like all of a sudden, it's like, oh my god, and you unforgettable things. Steely Matt brings up my cousin Ryan.
Yeah.
I'll
Mhm.
never forget John Cooper when I told him I was who I was. I was related to Ryan. He goes, I wish I would have had a full team of Ryan Millers with his heart, man. And
Greg
uh,
Belisari was another decent linebacker
yeah,
back
Yes.
then that time.
I don't know what happened, and hopefully
Steve
Laurinaitis.
Tovar, for crying out loud, we've had a
Yeah,
lot of
Pepper
them.
Johnson.
Yes, Pepper Johnson.
Hey, what about Lorenzo Styles?
There you
oh,
go.
senior, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, you think
Gratishar.
about it.
I mean,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot
Randy
Gratishar. He
Gradishar.
was like a Hall of Famer. Um, that we got. I hope Laurinaitis can get us back there, but I'm afraid the scheme we play at the 4-2-5
doesn't
that
allow it. Yeah.
it doesn't allow
No,
it to
it
happen.
doesn't.
Chris,
Eh,
what's your grade, brother?
You know, I've got to go. If we're grading the whole room, I'm going to go a solid C. But what's bad is
I
I'm
thought it
going
was gonna be
C
worse than
minus.
that.
I'm going C minus on our starters and C plus on our backups
Oh,
because
okay.
I really feel like we get a different kind of play when Gabe Powers and Arvell Reese are in there.
Yeah, but
Mm.
let me push back a second. It's usually at the end of games when their team's either dog tired or their backups are in too.
That may be Eric, but I feel more intensity when they're in the game.
Powers has some dog in him for sure.
I feel much more intensity when those two guys are in the game. And if we're only going to have two linebackers in the game, give me the two most intense SOBs that we've got on that bench that are going to just bring it to the next level.
Geez, Dev, I hope not, dude. That would put me in a really bad mood.
You know what? Honestly, right now, if I had a choice, and I hate to say it because I think Cody Simon is a good leader, and I think he's a great guy from everything I've heard. I I would start Gabe Powers over Cody Simon
What about
given what I've
Ardell
seen.
Reese?
Yeah,
Arvell Reese, sorry.
and honestly, that's the problem with the 4-2-5, Eric. We've got two guys in there who, honestly, neither one of them is really that will position. They're more the Mike guys, and there's only one Mike position, and we got three guys vying for it. So you're giving it to the senior, the leader, and it's not working. We need three linebackers in this game. I'm sorry. I am not. More the I see it, the less I am a fan of the 4-2-5.
I think it would look better if he was allowed to be creative with the defensive front like he was at Oklahoma State, but it's a whole different podcast. Okay, cornerbacks. This was hard because I thought the quarterbacks were like A plus before Oregon, and they were an F against Oregon. So I'm going to be Mr. Positivity here and say one guy's bad game should not destroy what that room has done as a whole. I'm going to go B minus overall.
I'm going. I'm struggling between a B minus and a B, but I'm going to go B because I think Burke had a horrendous game that was an a F minus. Iggy was okay that game. Um, and I think Hancock has taken a step back this year. He seemed better last year. I'm not sure. I'd like to see more Matthews and more maybe Simpson Hunt and other guys. But that being said, I think overall this year so far they've been pretty good. But I'll tell you, Marshall exposed it a little bit too. But we weren't getting pressure either, so it's kind of hard to judge it. It's like you can't expect a guy to play man press forever if you can't get to the quarterback. So in conjunction with the pass rush being kind of weak, I'm going with a B because I think overall they've done okay because they, especially with considering we don't get to the quarterback. So, and I just need to see Burke bounce back more than anything. And I'll tell you, Nebraska's receivers aren't anything special. So this is a perfect bounce back game for him, but I'm not going to believe it until I see him do it against Oregon again. So
I gotta go C, guys. I gotta go with a C here. Um, I I think that Denzel got severely exposed versus Oregon because I know what you're saying and I agree with you about the lack of pass rush. But Cory, there was times where he was just flat out beat.
oh no, I'm not disagreeing with you there. He was toast. I mean,
Um,
no, toast is putting it kindly. He was toast in the toaster for
it,
months. I mean, he was so toasted.
and Iggy overall on the year, I think has been really solid. But he does have a tendency to commit some dumb turnovers or dumb penalties, though. Penalties of aggression, yes, but some of them he gets awful handsy at times when he doesn't need to be. Um, Hancock, I think I agree with you there. I think he's having a down season as well. Cornerbacks are concerning me, and I think that Oregon and Marshall specifically really exposed us. And I think that the talent's there. I think they can fix it, but they've got to figure it out real fast.
Okay, safeties. I'm probably going to make you swallow your tongue here, Chris. I went with an A. Now hear me out. I think the safeties are the most sound tacklers on this team. I think they've been the brightest spot on this defense as a whole through the first 6 games. And for a safety-driven defense, I expect a little bit more when you have these guys in your room. And that falls on Jim Knowles a little bit. I went with an A.
Yeah, I'm A as well. I think Downs has been as advertised. God, thank God he's a Buckeye, and thank God Bama's losing, so he doesn't think, man, why did I get leave that program? Um, and Ransom is quietly having a really good season, and I don't
So
think
good.
people even appreciate him enough. It's like this dude's really, really good. I agree with you, Eric. Best tacklers on the team. There are safety valves against big plays, especially in the run game. If something gets to the second level, you can count on Downs or Ransom to take them down. Yeah, I understand there's like a play here and there. I get it. Everybody's going to have a play here and there. I won't give them an A plus, but I will say a solid A. I'm very happy with the safeties.
Well, for the second time, we're all going to agree.
Wow.
I've got them in an A as well. I think they are the most fundamentally sound players on our defense.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Absolute tackling machines. Um, what's sad is that given our lack of consistent production at the linebacker position, we have had to
Hmm.
use them more as tacklers and less to help out the pass coverage, which sadly enough, we can't have 4 of the safeties on the field at the same time because let me tell you, we need 2 to help tackle and 2 to help with pass coverage, obviously, given what we saw versus Oregon. No, these guys are great. I think the safeties are absolutely wonderful. Um, And you talked about the Chip Kelly hire, uh, but the guy we snagged there from Indiana that's coaching our safeties is doing a pretty doggone good job on his own.
And he's recruiting
Um,
well too.
yes. So I'm telling you guys, I agree with you. I think that the safeties are definitely an A. Best part of this defense right now.
trying to remember his name. It's like an Italian name.
Giddy or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gutierrez or Gutierrez. Yeah.
I knew it was Italian
Guerreri,
name.
Matt Guerreri.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.